Hey there, welcome back. Thanks for joining me. I had to cancel my trip. Damn you, cancer! Fuck. So this one hurts. Man, you know, people ask me all the time, how do you, how do you get through this shit? Shitting rainbows, Nicole. And I always marvel at how any one of us with cancer that is trying to stay alive for one more day is not running down the street screaming at all times. Because this shit's nuts. It's nuts. One of the tools that I use to survive the insanity of all of this is I dream. I tell my wife this all the time because sometimes my wife so desperately wants to do anything to make me smile. She wants to do anything to make the last days that I am on this earth to be as awesome as they can be. And so it kills her when, you know, if I have to be very careful because I'll say something out loud like, oh, I wish the sky was purple. And my wife will do everything to make that sky purple, which is amazing. And so a lot of times, though, and I've had to tell her this is baby, you don't have to make this come to reality for me. It's just I need to have a dream so that I can work towards that dream, so that I can get out of bed every day and put my feet on the floor and stand up, because it's really hard a lot of times when you're like, what's the fucking point, right? So I make dreams, and you know, it's little things. You hear me talk about it all the time. You know, I want to be strong enough to be able to ride my bike to that neighborhood over there to be able to go pick up some pastries or explore whatever it is that I'm exploring, such as an insect museum. I found an insect museum in Chicago. Don't get distracted. We'll talk about that later. I'm so excited. Anyways, one of my just very big dreams. And adaptability is our superpower. We have to let it go. If we can't make things come true, you know, adaptability is our superpower, and I know that. And so I roll with things, and this one's just hard because when I was diagnosed, I had this really intense, like, desire to go back east where I grew up, and it didn't make sense to me. I don't have family that I was running to. It's not like I had, you know, that pull there, right? And I left 30 years ago, so it just didn't make sense. And I went on a road trip to the beginning of October was to see, it's all about foliage. So the beginning I did get, and with my friend Laura, went to Vermont and Maine. And, you know, when I was there, hold on. I lost it. I'm trying to find it. Give me a minute. What were we talking about? Haha. Okay, when I was there, shit, I lost it again. This is getting really bad. I love my friends though, man. I'm like, take me back, and they take me back. Okay, we were in Vermont and Maine, and I was excited, because all of a sudden I had this light bulb go off, and I understood why this desire to go back specifically in the foliage of the Northeast of America. Why did it, you know? And it was because the little girl in me wanted to take me someplace that she knew was magical and was safe. That's what I realized when I went back and did my little road trip with my friend Laura in Maine and Vermont. The second part of the month was to go back to the land of magic. When I was a kid, I was so lucky. I had two amazing grandmothers, two very different worlds. One was a working farm, and that grandmother was amazing. And the other one though, she was the lands of magic, because she was hours away. Grandmother and grandfather, hours away, right? So we had to get in a car and we had to drive hours beyond hours. And we were going from like Pennsylvania up through New York. So, you've got the rivers and creeks and you're going up into the hills, right? The hills and the valleys to go see our grandparents. And our grandparents, this is on my mom's side, they had 12 kids, right? I think, if I'm correct, 2 of them passed maybe at birth or something, so they ended up raising 10 kids. I'm the oldest of the cousins. My mom was the oldest of those children. And so my grandmother, I honestly don't think that she knew that I wasn't hers. I feel like so there were like all of these kids, and when we would go to spend the summers at her house, it was wild. There was all these kids running all over the place, and my last aunt, her last child, was born 2 years older than me. So they're like siblings as we were growing up, and God, they were just country wild, and when you would get into, as you're like, you're driving and you would get there as a kid, you were so excited because this wasn't the type of grandmother who, like, when you fell down and skinned your knee, picked you up and kissed your boo-boos and made you feel better. She did not do that. I don't think that my grandmother ever served me a meal. I don't think she ever cooked anything for me in my entire life. I do not know how she successfully raised 10 kids and fed them. I do. It was my grandfather. Yeah. But I will tell you this. The little village that she lived in was it was up at the tip of the Adirondacks, up by the Canadian border. And those woods that we would wander in, especially at this time of year, you would come into the village and it was just this magical lands of color. And there's only a couple of things in this village. Of course, the church. I say of course the church. Somehow the Catholic Church got themselves like into the village. There's a lot of religion around, so many Christian cults like Protestant, Lutheran, the Amish, the Mennonite, the Catholics, the evangelicals. I mean, they were all over the place, right? But for our village, it had this really stately Catholic church. And there was the boarding house, and there was the meat market, and there was the ice cream shop. And as a kid, I mean, even in this village, they built a swimming pool out of a sand swimming pool right next to a little baseball diamond, so that the dads could go watch baseball while we played in the pool, right? It was brilliant. My grandfather loved baseball, and he would take us to that baseball diamond every chance he got. It was great. I remember the only time that I feel like the only time my grandfather would go into the city, I remember going down to, we had an uncle in Long Island. My grandfather would go as long as he got to go to a baseball game. I think it was Shea Stadium that he was going in. The thing with where my grandparents lived in this magical village, and I think part of wanting to go back to that was because, throughout childhood, we weren't safe. we weren't provided a safe, loving environment. My dad chose to raise us in an extraordinarily violent world of him and his friends. But my grandparents' place wasn't like that. There was no violence there. There was laughter. And my grandmother might not have fed me a single meal, but I will tell you something. You knew that you were going to get an ice cream sundae. She would inevitably, always once a week, we would get to go, and we would go to the ice cream shop and have an ice cream sundae. And then when we got so lucky that an Italian family moved in and opened up a pizzeria, once a week you got a piece of pizza too. It was so picturesque, right? It was that complete small town, and it wasn't even a small town, it was a village, right? And I remember even as a teenager, when I became a teenager, I knew how to drive to my grandparents without a map. And this is like pre-cell phone, pre-Google, right? I didn't need directions. I knew how to get there as a kid. Like that's how like much it meant to me. And I haven't been able to go back and really explore as an adult because I have that rule. I love to travel. I don't like to go back. If I've already been there once, let's keep going because the world is so big. So I thought this year is going to be the year. I'm still alive. I'm going to go back and I'm going to soak in the colors, eat cider donuts, and just drive around the lands that just brought me so much joy. And apparently still do, because I was smiling ear to ear all the way through Vermont and Maine. I was really excited about this trip. Adaptability is our superpower. I had to cancel my trip because I have osteonecrosis. We've talked about this a little bit. My bone is disintegrating. Well, I woke up one day, a little bit ago, and my jawbone had collapsed on itself, in and on itself. Yeah, it sounds as bad as it sounds. Yeah. So basically, my jaw collapsed in on itself, and when it did, it collapsed and bone came out the sides. So shards of bone came out the sides, the inside of my gums. Yeah. I don't, like, this is what I'm talking about when I say, like, how the fuck are we not running down the street screaming all the time? I'm literally telling you a story about how I woke up because there was shards of bone sticking out of my gums, stabbing my tongue. Yes, that is what happened. So as you imagine, I had to address that. I gotta give it to my wife, man. She let me get like 2 steps almost out that door. I was so stubborn. I was getting on that plane and I was going because I had dreamt about this for so long, and it's what got me through so much of this year. So much of this year. I think it was the first thing I said when they told me that the cancers moved to my head. I was like, well, fuck, I gotta go. I've got to make this come true. Yeah. So I had to have surgery, and they had to saw off, part of my bone and fix it and clean it out and all of that good stuff, which is great, and it is for this moment. Yeah, I really, I don't know what else to share with you on this one. Is it solved forever? Nope. Is there a solution? Nope. Yeah, we're going to run in a bunch of tests to see, because as I told my oncologist now, what fucking prevents me from like walking down the street and having my shin collapse? I mean, like, what's happening here? And I love her so much. And she's like, yeah, well, we don't know, Nicole, so you're right. She knows me so well, too. I was trying to downplay it so that I wouldn't miss chemo. You know, like, oh yeah, doc, yep, I just had to have some bones sawed off and blah, 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 blah. And she's like, hold on, back it up. Say that again. I'm like, yeah, doc, my bone is collapsing now. She was just as marveled by this because, like, again, my disease doesn't typically migrate and move to your head, but mine did. My disease is not known for bone collapsing, but mine is. Combination, probably long-term chemo usage. And or one of my drugs, Avastin, is known for. I found an article about that. I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I think at the end of the day, like my oncologist, who again is very honest, and this is what I love about her. She's like, yeah, well, most people don't live long enough, so they don't have this information. Has she ever seen it? No. Has my other oncologist ever seen it? No. Have any of my doctors ever seen it? No. I get to be that special. Was it painful? Yes. Is it painful? Yes. I just never imagined that I would be trying to stop my bones from turning to dust. With that comes a pause in my treatment. For now, that pause is a two session pause. Yeah, that's on top of 2 sessions that I missed because my platelets and my blood's not strong enough. So that'll be 4 sessions that I'll have missed by the time I get back to it. It's 2 months. Yeah, it's scary. But it's not where I'm sitting, though. It's not, it's very strange. I'm not sitting in fear when this first happened. Yeah, like I said, my doc knows I was trying to downplay it so that I didn't miss a chemo. I wasn't even going to tell her until I realized that those are just dumb decisions. I think we've scheduled an appointment in person. She's asked me to come in to talk. Usually we do a lot of our appointments over the phone, and so I'm going to go in and talk with her. We've run out of runway for my chemos. The only way that I can get the chemos if my blood starts pepping up. And even this week I had to have my blood tested before I had the oral surgery to make sure it didn't, everything clotted, and it wasn't good enough for chemo. I think the space that I'm sitting in now, first I had to process letting go of seeing the foliage and going back to the magical lands of my childhood. It really was quite dreamy. I'm very fortunate because I had it. I think more where I'm sitting right now is we've talked about when you run out of options and what that means. And I think that what I've realized in the last couple of weeks is that I'm going to focus my energy on trying to help myself learn how to stop. And I by no means mean that I'm giving up in any way. That's not what I mean. It's not giving up. It's learning to be okay with stopping. Giving up means there's an option that you have that you could follow. There's a solution that you could put into place. And I don't have a solution. Yep, all the logical things. I'm going to look, we're scouring for trials. We are, I'll continue with the chemo option if my body allows it, but I think that I've always said it's not the dying that scares me. Let me correct that. It is not the after that scares me. I am not afraid of what comes after this life. The dying does scare me. I will take that back. It scares me a lot. I have been a cancer caretaker, and dying of cancer is one ugly motherfucking thing. And I am scared of that. Because unfortunately in this country, we aren't allowed to die in peace if we so choose. I've been more always afraid of the end time driving yourself crazy. I've seen people, including my mother-in-law wanted my father-in-law to stay alive. She was in such denial that they chose to put him through some really not anything I would have chosen or would choose for myself. There's a time when you have to say enough is enough. And again, I'm not quitting or giving up. I'm sitting in the space of starting to talk to myself about what it would look like if I chose to accept that there isn't really anything to do, and to sit in that space and enjoy my time as much as possible. That's the space I've always been afraid to come to. Not afraid of what comes after this life. I'm afraid of those last few months when you're so desperately wanting to stay in the current life. And you don't know how to stop. As you can imagine, it's been a week. I really don't know anything for the next couple of weeks. So I told my wife, I need to heal from this. So I'm gonna play a little tourist of Chicago for a little bit. And I'm making a list of all the things that I can do, of all the things that I want to do. And I'm gonna try to find a little joy in every day. Find a way to shit rainbows. Enjoy this time as much as possible. And keep figuring out how to breathe. For right here, right now, I am not okay. And that's okay. Well, friend, thanks for stopping by to check in on me. I will see you next Sunday.